Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be going over some information that Scope People provided me with regards to a buff that is going to be coming the way of Yumiko, who is going to be the Warrior Champions reward character this upcoming weekend. We have of course gone over the character's kit in the first place, but it does look like the majority of her kit is going to be improved in some way. I will say this is going to be the Adrenaline Rush, Snitch Move, all three of her unique passives, and a small change to her weapon as well. The only things that are going to stay the same will be her role, and thus her role's passive, and also her specialist skill. And as you can see, her role was support right here in the bottom left-hand corner. This means she was less likely to trigger weapon effects when being attacked or when attacking, pretty much when she gets attacked, because she is going to be a defense team character. And of course her specialist skill, which was Resilient 2, just gave her enhanced resistances to everything pretty much. 60% resist, and it's Resilient 2, which means this cannot be reduced by a control role, passive of the control role character. If you want to go and check out my preview of Yumiko, I do go over the specialist skill side of things. I'm not going to do that in this video. We're just going to be going over the changes of all of the other parts of Yumiko's kit. Now the buffs are not live in-game on the character that I have on my test region, but Scopely have provided me with some information with regards to the changes, so I can obviously create some screenshots for you to make it hopefully look a little bit nice and easy to read through. These are going to be the Yumiko buffs, and first off we are going to be going over the Adrenaline Rush. And the Adrenaline Rush originally was all teammates get elusive for 3 turns, all Armory Allegiance teammates get camouflage for 2 turns. This fighter heals 50% of their max HP for the rest of combat and recovers from trauma. The AP cost of this was 66. The new version of this is going to be all teammates get elusive and camouflage for 3 turns, so it no longer is going to require the camouflage for actual Armory teammates. It's going to be for everybody, but it is going to last for 3 turns now as well, so the camouflage is also going to get a buff in turns. This fighter heals for 50% of their max HP for the rest of combat still and recovers from trauma still, but they also deal 20% of their max HP as damage to an enemy. So we're going to get another character that has to have some sort of damage output. I don't really think the damage side of things was really needed. I didn't think it was a terrible thing that she was just going to be a very tanky character, but it is obviously an improvement. I think the all Armory removal is just nice in itself. It doesn't mean that someone who goes to Warrior Champions has to pick up other Armory characters to make this actually work to a decent standard. Camouflage is very nice on defense teams, and it lasts for 3 turns now, so it's definitely a big boost. She can be the only Armory character on a defense team, and she'll be giving those characters that boost. So definitely an improvement. Obviously the AP cost being reduced down to 55 is nice as well. And the next thing we're going to look at is going to be the Snitch Move, and the original version was taunt an enemy for 2 turns, but it gets +1 taunt target while on the defense team. This fighter and 2 teammates recover from 3 negative status effects and get 100% defense for 2 turns. The new version is going to be quite similar. Taunt an enemy for 2 turns with +1 taunt target while on the defense team. This fighter and 2 teammates recover from 3 status effects and get 250% of defense for the rest of combat. So obviously it's only the defense buff that is going to change, but it's a massive change. It goes from 100% to 250%. That alone is really, really powerful, but also the fact that it's going to be for the rest of combat. Now this should target characters with negative status effects. So let's say she cleanses people first and they get cleansed and they get the buff. The next time if she cleanses the other people who didn't have the buff, they will get that boost as well. Now I will say originally the Snitch Move was initial cooldown turn 1 and cooldown of 1 turn. There's no information given to me with that being changed, so this should be a very fast turnaround. Every other turn you can do it. My actual timings that I talked about in that video with regards to her Adrenaline Rush, so on and so forth, the fact that she is taunting characters means she gains more AP. She should be basically doing her Snitch Move turn 1, potentially her Rush turn 2, and then Snitch Move again turn 3. So she's going to be getting this off quite nicely. Now moving on to the passives, you can see passive number 1 is going to change, and it's when an enemy receives the focus status effect, 100% chance they get 10,000 bleed and burn damage for 2 turns. This is going to completely change to when being attacked by an enemy with a debilitating status effect, 100% chance to taunt another enemy for 2 turns. This is a big change, but I will say the original version of this passive will still feature in Yumiko's kit, so don't be too disappointed because this is actually a pretty good passive. The new passive is obviously nice too though, because if you attack her with those taunts that she gets with her Snitch Move, she has a chance to taunt other characters, and if you know how taunt works, the taunted attacks will happen first, and if it procs this passive, obviously it's 100% chance, then it will obviously taunt more characters. You need to be very careful attacking a team with Yumiko in it, because she has the potential to completely taunt loop an entire team where they'll constantly be taunted, attacked into her, keep proccing this to taunt your teammates, and it'll be non-stop. There'll be no way to break out of it. Unless you have focus, unless you have someone who has cleanse, unless you have like some way of stopping this from occurring, the taunted attacks are going to be guaranteed. Now there's also a change to passive number 2. Originally it was at the start of each turn, one teammate heals for 50% of their max HP and all Armory Allegiance teammates heal for 15% of their max HP. This has been completely changed to at the start of each turn, if an enemy has the taunt or confuse status effect, all alert and strong enemies get minus 25% AP down. This is obviously really powerful. I'm not sure how many turns that minus 20% AP down is going to actually last for. It could last for 1 turn, it could last for 2 turns. I didn't get information on the turns there, but that is obviously pretty powerful in itself, considering those taunts that she's going to get off have a chance to actually proc more taunts because of that previous passive, but also her weapon has confuse when being attacked. So she's got a better chance to actually lay down more confuses, so on and so forth. This is a good chance for alert and strong teammates to be completely countered to a certain extent when it comes to being able to do their adrenaline rush because of this sort of situation here. Now passive number 3 was actually pretty good originally, and it was 100% normalized resistance. I think this was pretty nice. Obviously protects her specialist skill. Only certain characters are going to be able to actually hit her, and obviously reduce this down to 60% and then maybe hit that normalize. There aren't too many characters around that can do that, and the fact that she could be teamed up with counters to control role characters makes it very nice as well. The new version is a combination of this passive plus the passive we lost. So there's that passive coming back. It's 100% normalized resistance. When an enemy receives the focus status effect, 100% chance they get 10,000 bleed and burn damage for 2 turns. So you're going to get that first passive back into this third passive. So effectively she's getting 4 passives to a certain extent. If we kind of look at how it was before compared to now, it's a very big boost, especially on this third passive here, combining passives 1 and 3 together to make a brand new passive with the same effects. Now there was a change to the weapon, and I will read through the entire thing on the original version, but I won't read through the entire thing on the new version. And it is pretty simple. It was 40% defense, 40% HP. In the third slot it had improved confuse when hit. When being attacked, there was a 60% chance to confuse the attacker for 2 turns, and it also had improved Stonewall. This fighter gets 50% defense at the start of each wave for 2 turns. This fighter's defense cannot be reduced. This weapon has had a very small buff, but I think when I talked about the weapon, this was actually one of the things I complained about, and it has been boosted to 40% defense and 45% HP. The third slot will remain exactly the same with the 60% chance to confuse an attacker for 2 turns, and then the improved Stonewall will still be in the 4th slot. So that part of the weapon is exactly the same. It's just going to get a 5% increase. This does mean you can make it 50% defense and 50% HP. You could make it 55% of either stat, and then the other one would be 45%. I personally think this is a better kind of visual outcome in my mind. I probably personally would make it 50-50 just to make it, you know, decent stats on both. So those are the updates to Yumiko's skills. I think this is definitely an improvement over her original kit. It is a shame, in my opinion, that she is losing a bit of her healing power, because I think healing is kind of underrated, especially the way that one particularly worked. It means that if she was in a team with anyone who had overheal, she could proc that herself. So there was some potential there. Maybe it could have just been boosted up the amount of percentage it was, but it got completely sorted out. That's the way that is. There are some other changes. I'm not a big fan of every defensive character having to do massive amounts of damage, and this is a potential of being able to do pretty massive amounts of damage. But it is on the Adrenaline Rush, so it isn't going to occur as regularly as it would if it was a Snitch Move. But those are the changes. Like I said, this character won't get those changes added to them straight away. Scope will probably announce when the character will be made available. It might be after War of Champions is done. They might give you a coin or something to trade in the museum, and then later down the line is when you'll be able to actually trade it for the character when it's updated in the game. Any thoughts you have on the upgrades to Yumiko, leave them in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.